Okay, welcome everybody. My name's Godfrey Nolan. Tonight we're going to be talking about marketing automation, which is kind of like my pet project now since the start of the year. I spent most of last year trying to get up to speed on the different open AI APIs, and my New Year's resolution was to automate everything. So I work in a company. I'm kind of the business owner. So we 50 people. Sometimes it kind of gets a bit annoying because I can't get all the stuff I want done. So the first thing I wanted to do was to automate the marketing side. I had a feeling last year that we were really not doing what we were supposed to be doing in marketing. I think when it comes to posting stuff on LinkedIn, it's very hard to tell somebody else what they should be posting. It really needs to be kind of like the business owner or somebody, an executive stakeholder, to be able to do that. So I think if you can start using some of the techniques that I have here, I think it might help you, get better numbers. And I'm really just doing LinkedIn because that's where most of our work is. So but there's no reason why you can't do this for anybody else. Like there's no reason why you can't do this for Instagram or Facebook. Probably the next step to this would be to connect Hootsuite. Hootsuite looks like it's got a pretty mature API. And once you're into Hootsuite, you can basically post anything you want. But we posted to Facebook, to Instagram, to LinkedIn. I think that was it. And we really didn't get any traction on Facebook or Instagram. So I just said, forget it. Let's just do LinkedIn. So really, this is kind of like my journey for what's happened over the last few months. So the news. The news that I was going to put is that the O3 Mini, which is kind of like one of the first reasoning models, is available via the API. But let me just get out of this for a second. I've just seen that deep research is now available to paid users. So that's pretty cool. So we'll probably do that next month, which kind of destroys my slides. But as with everything in OpenAI, everything changes so fast that you just don't know what's going on. So that's what I try to do, is basically look at what we can do to use this for real world business use cases, and hence the meetup. So we're up to 415 members. That's 35 more than we had last month, which is great. Pretty good clip. Lots of people would seem to be very interested, talking to me about this marketing automation. Agentic was pretty popular last month, and I was going to do GitHub Copilot next month, but it looks like that's probably going to have to wait to a future month. I do a ton of work with GitHub Copilot. I don't know if people are using it, but certainly it's probably one of my favorite tools. I seem to be writing more code than I have in a decade. A lot of it is due to GitHub Copilot. Okay, so like I said, my New Year's resolution was to automate everything with ChatGPT. This is kind of our marketing schedule. If you have been following these meetups for a while, you probably see that there's a trend that what we do, me and Mike, who's on here too, helping too. So what we do is we do 2 meetups a month. So we do one, the OpenAI one, and then we also do another one on drone development. So, and then we take whatever the meetup is, which is typically it's a PowerPoint. It is a bunch of code that we put up on a GitHub repo, and then the video, and we have a semi-automated process that turns that into a blog post. So for each meetup, we get 2 blog posts a month. And then on my schedule for each week this is for the moment. I don't know if I'm going to change this, but it's marketing is basically throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks. So I'm going to show you what the end results is. This has been over the last 90 days. I'm pretty pleased so far. So usually on Monday, I just take whatever's in Meetup. I have a cron job, which is an automated job. Cron jobs have been around since the dawn of Unix, and basically it just takes whatever is in the latest Meetup, and then takes that, uses ChatGPT to create a message, and I think it does a really good job of getting a little bit more excitement in it than I normally would. I'm kind of pretty reticent when it comes to posting stuff on LinkedIn. I think ChatGPT does a much better job than me. So Monday I posted a personal, Tuesday goes to company, Wednesday, whatever ad hoc posts. So we just sponsored a hackathon in Windsor. So that went up last Wednesday. There always has to be some place for events and stuff that cannot be automated. But if you're not automating stuff, I find that typically what happens is just the postings start to fall off, and then you're not getting the traction that you should be getting. And then Thursday, we take whatever blog posting, which is usually a couple of weeks behind whatever the meetup postings is, just based on our cadence. And I send it Thursday to personal, and I send it to Friday to company. So basically what I'm going to do is show you how to do that if you want to do it yourself. And like I said, you could just as easily post to Facebook or Instagram or whatever platform it is that your Threads, X, blah, 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 whatever one you want. And if you are doing it to multiple ones, then what I would recommend is going after the Hootsuite API and try to use that to get it to post every marketing channel. So then you just have to post it to Hootsuite, and then you can set it up so that they can post it for you. And I'm sure there's other ones out there, but Hootsuite's the one that we're using. Hold on, I could add somebody else in. Oh, here's Andrew. Hey, Andrew. Okay. All right, so how does it work? Okay, I'm going to do the easy one first, which is the blog, because a lot of this is repeated in the second one, which is going from meetup.com. Meetup.com is a bit harder. So each of the blogs, in order to be able to do this, you're going to have an RSS feed, which is a really simple syndication. I think it's what it stands for. Depending on your platform, that's usually just a plugin. So if you're using WordPress, there's a RSS plugin. If we're using Framer, so we do everything in Framer. And there's just an RSS plugin that we can use. A lot of times I was asking, when I started this, I was getting DALL-E to generate the image. And I wasn't happy with what was going on. So usually when I do the meetup, the images that you see when you go to meetup.com and sign up for the event, I do them in Midjourney. Midjourney for kind of business realistic images is one of the better image creation software. So what I do is I just take that, put it into eventually it goes into the blog, or some other image goes to the blog. So instead of getting DALL-E to create it, I just use whatever image is in the blog. So I know it's going to be consistent. Then I get ChatGPT to generate the message to post. For most of the first month, I was doing this in a semi-automated fashion, where I would do the first part, and then I check to see what ChatGPT did. And then I'm letting it run now. So it's generating the message and posting to LinkedIn. Whereas before, and I would recommend this when you're starting this, you probably want to stop it before it actually posts, because if it's not using your voice, or if your whatever your prompt is wrong, it's just not going to work. So you want to be really careful about how you do this. Make sure that you're comfortable with what kind of language it's producing, and then when you can basically put it on a website and get it to fully automate. So, and I'll talk a little bit about that when we get to the end. And then you have to get an access token from LinkedIn, and then you post the image and message to LinkedIn. All of the stuff that I'm doing, I basically got ChatGPT to tell me how to do it. So I ain't no genius. GPT tells me to do. And yes, you have to change things to get it to work. But I just did it now. Let me see if you can see this. Are you seeing? Yeah, you are. So I said, how do I post an image and some text to LinkedIn from Python? Basically, it tells me how I need to go through and do this, how I need to do auth 2.0, get my access token, what I need to do to there's basically, you need to get your auth code, which gets you your access token, and then you need to register to upload an image, upload the image, and then once you have the image uploaded, you can basically post the image and the text to LinkedIn. And all of this UGC posts, it is pretty well documented in Microsoft. Microsoft owns LinkedIn, so they have documented the API. So really what I'm doing is I just had to fix a bunch of things to get it to work, but the basic shape just came from asking that simple question to ChatGPT. Okay, let's get back to where it was. So here's our blogs. So like I said, we're telling you how we do stuff. So basically that's I've done this for a long time. Many years ago, I was teaching drone development to a bunch of students in Lawrence Tech here in Michigan. I told the students, why do you keep on asking me these questions? Why aren't you going out to YouTube to try and research some more? And they said, we have, but it's all you. And I realized that my secret to marketing was to basically create videos and put them on YouTube. And then unique content, niche, whatever it is, seems to get you higher up in the algorithm for Google. So that's basically why we're doing this. And I'm hoping that you can do something similar. Okay, so let me show you what the RSS feed looks like. My computer will behave. Okay, so here's our blogs. There's kind of alternate between drone and OpenAI ones. And then right at the top, it says the RSS, so the RSS feed. So if I go and show you what the RSS feed is, it looks something like this. Can I make it bigger? Yes, I can. And this is basically all I do is I just pick up whatever the last one is. So I pick up, in this case, it's Introduction to Agentic Programming Part 1. It has the data in here that I need. So this is the image that I'm going to use, which is the image that comes from this blog here, which is fine. I can just post that to LinkedIn. I found that I wasn't comfortable with what DALL-E was giving me. I found I wasn't comfortable with what Midjourney was giving me. Even when you're trying to create images, I always find that I have to go through them 2 or 3 times for something that I'm trying to do. So it has some information about what we're talking about. So it has, and also you can get ChatGPT to go out and search the web to get some more context, so it can come up with a better posting. And I got to tell you, the posting that it comes up are way better than postings that I was doing. I am an engineer. I'm not a marketing person, so it's doing a better job than I am. Okay, so basically what we want to do is, here's our, back to where the RSS feed is. We want to parse out what the title is. We want to parse out what the link is to get there. And then we want to pull out whatever text is describing what's going on. And we want to pull out whatever the image is, which is this framer user content.png. Okay. Oh yeah, and RSS feeds, usually everybody does them because they kind of, if you subscribe to them, it notifies you when there's a new blog. I don't really see many people subscribing to our RSS feed, but it's kind of stuff that people have done since the start of websites, the start of blogs. As always, I asked ChatGPT to generate the code to read an RSS feed, and it decided that it was going to use the Python library feed parser. And so I just parse out what the title is, the link of the blog, as well as the URL. I also download the image while we're at it, so we can post that too. So basically, we just say, okay, give me the image, and then off we go. Okay, this is the simple call to OpenAI to get it to generate the message. So essentially what I'm doing is I'm just passing in the title and the URL of the blog. The one thing I will say is, and I've said this a few times, you can't get ChatGPT to generate ChatGPT code. So it won't, it'll generate any code you want, but it really won't be able to generate code that will be able to do this client.chat.completions because it's been trained on earlier versions of the API. Maybe some of the later models, some of the newer models have the right API call, but it's not very good. So it has to be this format. If you don't know what this format is, go back to some of the earlier sessions we did in this meetup. They're all recorded on a playlist, and you can see how to put this together. My system content message has kind of changed since I did this. Your helpful marketing assistant, use hashtags, use any image URLs provided for context. I also now I give it some examples of some of the posts that I've done in the past, so I can train it more on my voice. So you can do system assistant messages as many times as you want, and then just put in your user message at the end, and then it's going to get kind of like a LinkedIn post that kind of sounds like you, that would fool your friends. Whereas if you just give it something like this, it's going to sound very upbeat and maybe not what you want. Okay, so where are we? Okay, so we've queried the Reese.com RSS feed for the latest blog. downloaded the image from the blog, and then we get ChatGPT to generate the message to post, which is what I've done here. So the next thing is getting slightly harder now. So we need to get an access token from LinkedIn, and we want to figure out how to post the image and message to LinkedIn. So the access token is relatively straightforward. Posting the image and message to LinkedIn is a bit more complicated. LinkedIn have a developer website. So you go to developer.linkedin.com, and then you create an app. So in this case, I think it only works for companies. I don't think it works for personal. You have to be able to be responsible for the company website, for the company LinkedIn page, or know the person who is, so that they can verify your app. I'm not really, not 100% sure that this would work on personal, but if you have a company, it's going to work. So basically what you do is you create an app. It's going to ask for a logo. I just use the Meetup logo. It's going to ask for a privacy policy. We're not going to steal your data. And then you have to add you basically, when you add it, send a message to whoever owns the company page to say, hey, there's this thing that's being created by one of your users. Are you okay with it? And then if they say yes, then you have the ability to go to the next stage. And the next stage is to add products. So lots of products you can add. So one of the future versions I'm going to do with this is to add the sharing product, which I always have the sharing product. Maybe I don't need it. Apologies. So the sharing product here will allow you to see the number of likes that you get. So I want to be able to track some statistics, because I'm a nerd, and I want to see what's getting the most likes, what's getting the most reaction. So in order to be able to post an image, in order to be able to see what your user ID is, in order to be able to post an image and post text, you need these three products. So you need to be able to sign in with the OpenID Connect. So that's cool. You need the advertising API, because that gets you access to, there are literally hundreds of APIs under that. And then share is to be able to share the posts. But you can't do this unless you have these three products. Okay, so then the next thing that we need to do is we need to get our OAuth tool. So you basically click on this OAuth token tools. It walks you through a really simple wizard, and it's going to give you your OAuth token. If you have never done that before, put this in the resources. This, I think it's Jean-Claude, what's his alias? Couinard. And basically he walks you through what you need to do in order to be able to set up the developer. So if we go developer, let me try this real quick. Go to my apps. And then here's the one that I was testing with, but here's the one that I'm using today. Maybe go back here, because I want to see, I don't want to screw up the other one. So if I do OAuth token tools, I want to create a token. It's going to say select the app. So I'm going to choose the one that's not going to screw me up. It's going to say what scopes you want to include. So your name and photo, et cetera, et cetera. So you basically walk through this, and it's going to set you up with an access token. Okay, bummer, something went wrong. Okay, all right. My advice would be to follow this guy's direction, and you'll be able to get your access token. This was a test one that I was using, so maybe that's kind of screwed me up. Okay, back to where I was. Okay, so click on docs and tools, click on create token. You have to do this every time you add a new app or new product. So I found that was one of the issues that I was having, not being able to get this work at the start, because you'd figure out, oh, I need this API in order to be able to find my organization ID. And then you add that to the scope, but you need to create a new token in order to get through each time, because the token is associated with whatever products you have. So if you add new products, you have to create a new token. Make sure that you have that token. And then, like I said, for more detailed instructions, take a look at the Jean-Christy Couinard's blog, and the link is in the resources. Okay, lastly, we want to post the image and ChatGPT message to LinkedIn. So that is a kind of a 3 or 4 stage process. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to find out what our ID is. So this, I'm doing the personal one for the blog posting, and I'm going to look at the company one for the meetup posting. So we need to call this api.linkedin.com user info, and then we just pass in some simple headers. All of the code is available on my GitHub repo. So if you set up your own, somebody else in, if you set up your own keys for all of this, you should be able to get this to work. I put everything in a config file, and if you follow that, you should be fine. Okay, so we want to get our user ID to make what's called a UGC post. So the highlighted sub that you can see here gives us our personal ID. This fails if you don't have the right product, so check you have the same list as I showed you above. Okay, so we need to register the upload of our image using the Assets API. We have to pass in your author, or in this case, what we're doing, the author would be here, or in this case, it's an organization. So I just took this from the Assets API from the LinkedIn documentation that I showed you earlier. Again, I think this Assets API is being retired fairly soon, and you're going to find this a lot when you do ChatGPT. When you get ChatGPT generate the code, it's always going to use the older API because that's what it's been trained on. That's what it has access to. It's not going to have as many examples when it comes to whatever the new APIs are. But this works perfectly well. We may have to change it in the future. Okay, so what am I doing here? So basically, I'm registering that I want to upload an image. So I've registered that I want to upload an image, and I get back a an upload URL where I can post our image. So now I have my upload URL, which is here. So, you know, think of that like an S3 bucket. It's giving you a place where you can put something up. And then we want to, using the image we've downloaded from the blog, that was the URL and the RSS feed. So we just send a simple put request to the URL to upload the image. And now that we have our image all sorted out, we want to be able to post with the uploaded image. So in this case, what I'm doing is I'm passing in text, which is whatever the text is that ChatGPT has generated for me. And then whatever the media is the asset, which is the image that I've just created. So lastly, we create a post with our ChatGPT text, our posted image. Like I said, all of it is using the older Assets API, but it hasn't been, it's deprecated, but it hasn't been retired yet, so we should be fine. And I tried this earlier on today. So this, it came out with, you know, the blogs that when it pulls the information, it's okay. I don't think it's as, doesn't pop as much as the one that comes from Meetup, but it's got more information in the Meetup. So here it says, just check out our agentic programming blog. Then it's great with hashtags, and it's really good with emojis. So that would be something that personally I put hashtags in, but I'd never put emojis in. Me being Gen X, not a millennial or Gen Z. So I think it's, you know, I think what it's doing, basically for what I'm trying to do, this is already better than what I was getting when I was posting stuff, marketing stuff at the end of last year. And it gets better when we do the meetup. Okay, so let's look at our meetup. So we're going to do one more posting. So towards the end, it's going to be exactly the same as what we had before. So we're going to get ChatGPT generate the message to post the image and message to LinkedIn. It's going to be the same, but a little bit different, that we're going to look for the organization instead of just the personal ID this time. But we need to be able to get an access token from meetup.com, and we need to be able to query meetup.com for the latest meeting. And meetup.com moved, so here's what our meeting is. So this is the meeting, this is tonight's meeting. So marketing automation with ChatGPT. The image came from Midjourney. The text for our event comes from ChatGPT. I, you know, just told I want to do a meetup about marketing automation, and it basically comes up with the, you know, the things that the text that you see in our event. So the problem with meetup.com is that almost everybody in the world uses REST API to talk to backend databases. So, but one of the more modern ways of doing calls to backend APIs is to use GraphQL. A lot of developers love GraphQL. I'm not a fan of GraphQL because REST APIs are stupid simple to use, and GraphQL can be very confusing. And then GraphQL, there's not as many examples out on github.com or anywhere else for ChatGPT to learn. So it's not very good at generating the queries for GraphQL. So this took me the longest time to get this to work correctly. So if you are using meetup.com, hit me up because I think I've got much better GraphQL now. Or if you're doing it somewhere else, happy to help. But if you find that your API is REST API, thank the Lord, and then just move on because you'll find your life so much easier. Okay, so it's a very mature API spec. We need to authenticate using OAuth. So basically the way that OAuth works, we just saw it with LinkedIn. Essentially what you do is you say, here is my my key, here's my secret, and then we have this thing called a redirect URI, a redirect URL that it's going to call back. So in this case, this is a fake URL, so it's kind of like a two-stage process. So you say, here's my key, here's my secret, and then it gives you a code, and then you put the code into to get it to go back to the callback, and then the callback will give you your access token. I have the code for all of this, and I'll walk through that in a second. So in order to get there, you need to click on the auth clients to get your key and your secret, which we need for authentication. So if we go into, so you go to meetup.com. In order for you to be able to use this, you are actually going to have to pay for a pro version of meetup.com, which can be really annoying. But if you run a meetup group, you already have it, so it's not the end of the world. They used to let anybody use their API, but pre-COVID, they basically shut that down. So here we have our key, the secret key, the website that we're using, but the company is, and then the redirect URI, and then basically what we do is we just basically run through some code that I asked ChatGPT to create. So OAuth 2, it works really well with, but with the GraphQL, not so much. Okay, so let me go back to the grind. So we go to API docs. So they do have API docs to show you everything. Here is the GraphQL playground. So this is the query that I have to do in order to be able to get the information back for the name that it gave to my group is Practical ChatGPT API Programming. And if we run this, we get the information that we need, which is what is the URL for the meetup, what's the date and time, and we have a short URL that we can use too, but LinkedIn's going to change that anyway. And I think it gives us access to the image somewhere in there too as well. Okay, so enough complaining about GraphQL. Let's move on. Okay, so we have our access token from meetup.com. We have our query that we're going to create for the latest meeting. I'm going to download the image the same way as we downloaded it from our blog, and the last two things are more or less the same. Okay, so I asked ChatGPT to write the Python code to authenticate with meetup.com. Give me something like this. So OAuth 2 has an initial call where you get an authorization code from the meetup, and then we get an access token. So it will return an access token, which we can use to make any database queries. So basically what you have to do is you have to put the access token in the headers in order to be able to do the GraphQL query that we've just done. And then I have a redirect URI in here. So so let's go back here. So I have my key, my secret, my redirect URI. So I have my meetup client ID, which I put in a config file. And then I have the client secret. I have the redirect URI, which has to match what we had on the screen before. And then we just pass in what the authorization is and the access token ID is, which are always the same for meetup.com. Regardless of what you're trying to link to, whether it's Hootsuite or whatever else, you're probably going to have to go through this OAuth thing. So you just basically say, ChatGPT, give me the OAuth code for for Hootsuite or whatever it is that you're trying to do, and you should be able to do it. This, like I said, if you want to get more information, there's a ton of information that you can get back from GraphQL. Basically, REST API just gives you the most basic information, but with GraphQL, it's basically you're getting a JSON back of whatever information that you actually ask.
Hey Godfrey, what program are you in right now?
This is from the. Can you see where this website is?
Yes.
So this is meetup.com, and I just took a screenshot. So basically, there's a guide to GraphQL. So it tells you how to do what that's GraphQL, working with photos, all this sort of stuff, what the GraphQL schema is. But I found by far the best thing to do was to play with the playground. So you start off with the examples that they give you, and then you basically just build it up to what you can. And there was actually a link that I found that had a fairly similar GraphQL query for meetup.com, which got me a bit further than I would have got on my own. So basically what you're doing is you're asking for, I need to know what the images are. I want to know what the ID is and the base URL. I want to know what the date time is. So all the things that we're going to need for taking that information and posting it to LinkedIn.
Godfrey,
but yeah, GraphQL it's fun.
Godfrey, is the issue with GraphQL?
Sorry,
can you hear me? Sorry. Is the issue with GraphQL that you need to know the structure of what you're querying in the first place? Or is there a way to get the whole structure of?
Well, you do have the structure because you have the schema, but you know, I'm not a programmer. I just play one on TV. Okay, yeah. So I'm asking ChatGPT for all this stuff, like I would assume most of the people on this call, and saying, "Give me the code to be able to do this call." There is not a lot of GraphQL information out there, and GitHub.com. So that's what ChatGPT and Gemini or whatever else, they're all being trained on the same information. So they're downloading the internet. So on the internet, there is a dearth of information on how to do GraphQL.
Yeah, it was like the new hotness a whole bunch of years ago, like 3 or 4 years ago, but it didn't seem to take the same way that REST has.
Yeah, because well, let me tell you, we were having a conversation about this work. So I'm old enough that I remember a thing called EJBs, Enterprise Java Beans, and it almost killed Java. So basically, it hugely complicated making websites for not even enterprise websites. Everybody was using it. It was, in order to get a job, you need to know EJBs. Basically what EJBs would do is that you could send it a transaction, and the transaction would go to the database, but it would have to go through like 4 or 5 different steps. And if any of those steps failed, it would roll back the transaction. Okay. But it was very complicated, and not many people knew how to use it. And then my question always was, you ain't going to need it. Why the hell do you need Enterprise Java Beans? The only people who need Enterprise Java Beans are fintech, you know, because you're sending a transaction, a financial transaction that you need to be able to roll back. So unless it's insurance or something like that, where the transaction is really important, we don't really care about EJBs. Again, with GraphQL, why am I not using REST API? Why are you complicating things to make stuff harder when it's just so much easier to use REST API? So all I'm looking for is the date and time, the name of the event, and an image. I should be able to do that in REST API in 5 minutes. GraphQL, it'll take you a couple of days. So that's the problem. Simple as that. I didn't really want to bitch about GraphQL all the time. But yeah, it's basic.
Sorry, I poked the bear.
No, it's fine. It's basically, it is my inexperience as a developer that GraphQL just is like, why are you making this so complicated? Okay, anyway. You got to dump the image as well. Just remember, to the hard drive so we can post it later. You could always stream the image, but like I said, I'm always trying to do stuff the easiest way. Okay, so now I'm going to use ChatGPT. Same again, your helpful marketing assistant. Use hashtags. Use any image URLs provided for context. So hopefully it can go out and figure out what's on the meetup to be able to get more information. And I'm pretty sure it does. So this is simple OpenAI request, just to chat completion. And what I do is I dump the text into a LinkedIn post.txt, and then I just pass that when I send it to LinkedIn. So again, we've asked ChatGPT to generate it. Want to post the image and message to LinkedIn. Got to go through the two-factor thing again. Create your app. Make sure that you have the products. Create your token. So click on Docs and Tools. Go through the create token. And remember, you have to do that every time you add a new product, because you're gonna find that you need products in order to get access to, just like I did. I could get access to the personal, but I couldn't get access to the organization without adding one of the products. So I added a new product. I had to go back and create a token. Okay, so now what we're going to do is the last step, which is we're going to post to LinkedIn, same as we did with the blog posting. In this case, we have a different URL, because now instead of us looking for our personal ID, we're now looking for our organization ID. And the organization ID is actually much easier to find. If you go to your company page, it gives you to you, and you view it as an admin, it gives you to in the URL, so you can get it there as well. But it's much better if you look it up programmatically. And then this is what it comes up with for posting to about the meetup.com, which I think is great. So nice use of emojis, nice icons for date and time. It's pretty well structured. Lots of hashtags to see if people can find it on LinkedIn. And then the final image is basically the one that we got from Midjourney as well. So I haven't done anything there. So I know that my image is always going to be the same. Pretty confident about what my text is going to be, based on what I actually put into the event in meetup.com. Okay, so my New Year's resolution is to automate everything. So we can do that on render.com. I'm using render.com. It's $10 a month. You just set up a service to say, run my, so I took in, I'll show you the code in a second, but I took all the code and kind of merged it into one. So all of the different steps are in my app.py. I have a requirements.txt for the different things it needs to install to get this to work. So, the feed parser, request OpenAI to be able to run this. It is a cron job. So if it's a cron job, it needs a cron expression. ChatGPT will write that for you. So basically what you say is, can you write me a cron expression for 11 a.m. on Monday? I should change that from UTC. That's too early. Should be whatever Eastern time is. And then it will basically run this you need to do one for each of the different posts that you want to do, or you can pass in a variable to get it to run every day and get it to run. Okay. So I think that one of the two things that ChatGPT I used at first a lot were regular expressions, really good, and cron job expressions are absolutely amazing. Okay, so let's, you got to look at some of the metrics to see if this is actually working or not. So there's good news, bad news here. So I started doing this automation project early January, as I thought we were really tapering off with our content last year. I'd done an awful lot about learning about all the APIs last year, and I wanted to be able to put them into implementation this year. So this year is implementation year. So there are a couple of takeaways. Yes, the general trend is up since the start of the year, which is great. But we're still way down on where we were the previous 90 days, as I think November and December were so bad. And some of that is because it's the holidays, nobody really cares. But there are definite things that you could put in there that we should have put in there. So I'm pretty hopeful that this is a good start for increasing the number of impressions. And if I can keep this kind of trend going over the next few months, you can see as we have our meetups kind of like twice a month, that's why these blips are starting to happen. But as with all marketing, I feel like it's really throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what works. So you always have to check what's going on. I'm also going to see about adding some video soon. So what I want to do is there's been a number of different video apps that have come out, including with OpenAI, with Sora. So I want to add some video because I know that LinkedIn is going to be much better if I start adding a couple of clips. So we'll definitely look at that in a future meetup. Okay, so I want to go through the resources. So if you are interested in taking a blog and turning it into taking a video and turning it into blog, check out our previous blog that Mike did. Here is the link for linkedin.com. This is the URL for the blog about going through the API, not the token authentication. Here is the Microsoft's LinkedIn completely unhelpful API documentation. This is the GraphQL documentation for Meetup, which is actually pretty good. And then after all I said about it, and then here's where all the code is for tonight stuff. Okay, so let me show you what I have. So let's have a look at the code. Okay, so the code's up here. It's public, so anybody can see it. There are two directories. One is the RSS one that I showed. LNOAuth I took from this guy's blog. So basically I changed it a bit because I was putting in the config in two files, and I hate putting things in two places which are the same information. So step one is getting the RSS feed, getting my ChatGPT to create it, and then basically this is kind of my semi-manual process. I would thoroughly recommend doing this first so that you don't post. Like I posted the other day, I made a mistake and I posted to LinkedIn. ChatGPT would like to help you, but you haven't given me any information, which obviously is not what you want to do. So thankfully it was on a Sunday night, so I'm sure nobody saw it. So I would recommend going the semi-manual process. So what I do is this writes out a file called LinkedIn post.txt and downloads an image, which is the image from the blog. And then the second step is basically setting up the headers correctly. So you're going to need a config file with this information in it. You're going to already need to have your LinkedIn access token, which you put in your file. This is the one for the personal. So you had your user info. This is taking that sub thing that I showed you at the start and turning it into what is known as an author. And then what we do is we register to upload the image. We upload the image, which is just the image that we downloaded from our blog. And then we create a post with the UGC posts. We pass in what our author is, which is your personal ID. And we pass in the text that we generated from OpenAI and the asset, which is the image. Okay, and then this is just calling the upload image to LinkedIn with the image and the PNG. And then on the other side, on the Meetup side, we have a couple of different steps here. This is getting my authentication from Meetup. This is getting the data from meetup.com. So this has got the GraphQL request. Passing in our access token that we just got from step one. We're taking out the information, which is the group name, event title, short URL, date, time, which I'm passing into OpenAI. OpenAI is generating it, and it's creating my LinkedIn post.txt, which I'm going to use. And then I have two. The first one is personal posting. So this is the personal posting that we just saw before, which is using the author. And then the second one is if you need to know how to do it in organization, this is the second URL that you need. So the step 3 is using the user info URL, and step 4 is using the organization access control lists, or whatever that stands for, in order for you to be able to post it to the company page. But it's essentially the same thing. Okay, what else do I have for you? I think that's it. There's the URL. So let me just stop sharing. And let's see if anybody's got any questions. Okay, open it up. Has anybody got any questions? Nothing?
Hey, I have a question. This is Mohsin.
Hi, Mohsin.
Hey, I was wondering if you're gonna put the code somewhere. Like, I mean, I just want to reproduce what you're doing.
The code that I showed you, if you, well, you can find it right now. Let me put it in it's going to be, usually what I do after every talk is I post the PowerPoint the next day. But if you want to try it now, I'll just put it in the chat. And then the video is already up there. So if, Mohsin, if you want to start playing with that, if you have any issues, open an issue and I'll fix it for you, hopefully within 24 hours. because this is something that I'm doing all day long. This is my my latest ADHD or addiction. So yeah, I'll be doing this for quite some time. I will probably be doing video. I'll probably be trying to do videos next. That's the next one. But yeah, you have the URL. Feel free to play with it. If you have any questions at all, hit me up. And if you have something that isn't working, just open an issue on GitHub and I'll go fix it.
Right, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, and then next month, so we are going to be doing, I had thought I was going to be doing GitHub Copilot, but deep research just dropped. So we'll probably do deep research next month, and it will be towards the end of March. So hopefully see you then. Thanks, guys.
Oh, hey, Godfrey, can I ask one